The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Welcome to Planting Seeds, Philanthropy in Saskatchewan, a show where we aim to connect you to the community impact that's being powered by donors and charities all across the prairies. I'm your host, Victor Roman, with the South Saskatchewan Community Foundation. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, thanks for tuning in today. I'm joined here by Adam Hicks. He's actually the Director of Finance and Administration with us at South Saskatchewan Community Foundation. And before we get really into this interview, I just want to let the viewers know this is a little bit of a different episode than we normally do. Normally we've got charities on and donors on to talk about their specific stories, but we thought that this would be a good opportunity kind of to pull behind the curtain of South Saskatchewan Community Foundation and the purpose of a community foundation in general, which is really about legacy giving. And Adam's gonna talk to us all about this, but the one thing I wanna plant in your eyes is, if you were to give $10,000 today, what would you expect that to do in 25 years or in 50 years? Adam's gonna tell us about how that can grow exponentially and how you can actually keep giving long-term with the donation that you made today. So yeah, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Victor. And it's, I like to talk, $10,000 is an easy number to understand, but we deal with donations significantly less than $10,000 and more than that. And the neat thing is we are a charity ourselves. So we are a charitable organization, and it is neat that we're part of this community of really building charities up and encouraging sustainable giving forever.
So on that note, and before we get too far, maybe let's explain to the viewers, what is legacy giving? Yeah. How does that work through a community foundation like South Saskatchewan?
So it's an awesome concept I've fallen in love with, and I wish I would have known about it a long time ago. But basically, using the $10,000 example, we'll talk about for a second, is what we do is we take in that donation, and we are able to help donors support whatever charities or causes they want, not immediately. So we know that there's a lot of immediate needs in the community, but what we do is we take that $10,000, provide a tax receipt, and we lock it away into a legacy fund. And that legacy fund is invested. Fun fact is the Community Foundation manages $100 million right now, so we have a lot of flex in the market, and we're able to get institutional investment rates and a really diverse portfolio. So we take that $10,000, invest it into our portfolio, and it earns above market returns. And those returns, the interest earned every year, then goes back to the charities or causes that the original donor wanted to give to. And so it's the sustainable model where your $10,000 continues to grow with the interest, but every year a little bit, roughly 3.5% to 5%, so roughly $300 to $500 comes out every single year to go to the charity that you support every single year from that original fund. And then the beautiful thing is these funds create a legacy for the individual or the family or even the business, and it engraves that name or that legacy forever into the community.
Absolutely. There's a piece of symbolism there that I think people notice with the name Planting Seeds, is that planting seeds, it's the name of our show for many reasons, but the financial aspect is really true of that too. Like that donation is really meant to be that seed that then grows that plant that keeps giving back really forever towards community. So it's great to see that. So let's really dive into legacy giving itself. So like, I don't know if you want to do the $10,000 example or whatever it is, but explain how that can grow. What can that look like in 25 years, let's say?
Yeah, so we have, the neat thing is we've been around for 53 years now. So we have trust and history being able to show that we can manage a significant amount of money, but also honor the wishes of those who provided those funds. And so people can donate to different funds even without a legacy fund, but in essence, those legacy funds have grown and been protected through our 53-year history. And so essentially what it is through our modeling and through our average returns, we know that on average we earn above 7 to 8% every year. Some years, in the past few years, we've earned 16 to 17%. 2020 was a rough one, so it was -5. And so the returns go up and down, but we know on average we can grow that $10,000 and still contribute out every single year. And within 25 years, based on our historical data, we can't predict what future markets are going to do, but again, based on our 53-year history, we know that taking that $10,000 and looking out 25 years from now, you would have paid out over $10,000 to the charity or cause that you care about and you want to see helped in the community, with your fund at a substantial amount around that $50,000 to plus $1,000. So your fund has grown by 5 times, and every year you've been able to give a little bit back to every one of those charities or causes that you see. So it is a really cool model to see, and we have a number of examples of funds that have benefited from that legacy and from that historical or from those great returns that we've had in the past 53 years.
So really in your lifetime, when we talk about that 25 years, in your lifetime, that one donation you made back when, I don't know, let's say you were around retirement age, maybe you found money somehow when you're in your 20s or 30s, maybe through inheritance, whatever it is, but that seed donation, you'll see it in your lifetime get to the point where you'll actually have given that amount and then some back to the charity or the cause you intended to. So I think one of the things that's challenging.
I was going to say, just on that quick note, let's use 10,000 and keep that example going. Where the neat thing is let's say you got an inheritance and you provide that $10,000, you get that initial tax receipt, so you get 30 to 40% back on your taxes as well. So you're only actually contributing $6,000 or so. And then, but that benefit is you can contribute to that fund year after year as well. So let's say you have an extra $100 a year or $500 or whatever it is. You can actually contribute to that fund every single year. And many of our donors actually put their fund in the will, so they can create their own family giving fund or their own individual fund. And through their will, it can actually then obviously grow through that as well too. So it's neat that it doesn't have to be just one initial contribution. It can be contributions every single year and various amounts. There's no minimum or maximum. And it's neat to see that we have many donors that contribute year after year. Absolutely.
And what I wanted to mention too is just some of the challenges. I think one of the things that's tricky about communicating this is when you're looking at the short term. For example, if you were, let's use the $10,000 because that's what we've been starting with. If I was to give $10,000 out of my pocket, well, I'm not carrying that around, but let's say let's say I had $10,000 to give and I gave it to a charity today, I could see, that's going to impact them here for the next couple of years. But then I think as soon as you say, it's like, but what happens 25 years later? And if you can start to see that picture, it's like, oh, I'm actually, I'm still helping them with something I did forever ago. That's really, I think, impressive to me. And that's also something that, from a charity standpoint, I used to be an executive director at a charity. I know how funds look year to year. I know the reality is, the pandemic hitting was a great example of that, when suddenly charities fundraisers go away or you have to shift everything you're doing. Suddenly that funding is really hard to look at and be stable. So the other thing with this is not only are you not just giving a one-time gift, is you're creating something that they can plan into their yearly operations and they can rely on forever, so that they're not just getting something once, not totally sure what to do with it. In some cases, maybe in many cases, I'm sure they're responsible and they're doing something great with it. Maybe they're doing programming that isn't sustainable and they only use it in a couple of years. This is a way that you're creating sustainable options to power your community forever as well.
That's a solid point, Victor. And there's actually 2 quick examples. I won't name names, but there's an organization that received a substantial gift. We're talking millions of dollars. And so over an 8-year period, they did a ton of amazing programming, and they did a lot of community work and programming. After that 8 years, though, that donation had burnt up, and there was no donors to fulfill that programming, and it wasn't part of their core operations 8 years prior. And so it was a struggle where they were then looking at cutting programs and reducing programming because it was not sustainable. After that money was burnt through, again, they did amazing things for those 8 years, but that's it. After 8 years, they had to go back to their regular operations. They were able to keep us some of the pieces to it, but this is about that $10,000 becoming sustainable and predictable funding for charities. Fun fact is, last year alone, we provided $6.5 million to 219 charities, and most of those funds are through legacy funds that provide sustainable funding every single year back to operations or programmings for these charities. And so they don't have to go look for grants and get these and search for sponsors every year, because they have a pool of money that is contributing to their bottom line operations every single year, supporting their foundational core work. So it's really a flip of the mindset a little bit on your giving, but it is about creating that lasting legacy.
Yeah, I would say it's a very smart way to look at it, at least, if not all of your giving, at least a portion of it, to be looking at this long-term plan. And
well, actually on that too, we offer that ability. So we have, I don't like mentioning it very much, but we have flow-through funds. We're talking about legacy ones, but there is a way that especially organizations are able to contribute immediately based on community needs, but lock away a substantial portion as a legacy fund too. And the neat thing about South Saskatchewan Community Foundation is, with our history, we've come up with, we're the experts in this realm, but we also have flexibility to work with donors, and we have a very personalized approach. It's not, you're not coming in and fitting into our little cookie cutter spot. We are able to really work with donors and ensure that their wishes are honored forever, and that legacy is honored.
And I want to focus in now too on the word legacy itself and what that means. Because I mean, especially in our context, but there's a quote I want to give. This is actually, someone said it in a meeting to us, and then and they were quoting someone else. So the originator of this is someone I know. His name is Jeff Maystruck, and here I wrote it down here because I don't want to say it totally wrong. But he said, "In life you die twice. First when you pass away, and then second when you're forgotten." And the legacy piece to me is really about that never being forgotten. And how would you relate that to what's going on with donors through our organization?
So the neat thing is we have funds that were created 50 years ago that the original donors passed away 40 or 45 years ago, but that fund will forever live on. That legacy and that purpose, we go through a process where we identify what the purpose is of that donor, and we capture all of that. What they want and what they want to see as the legacy. And even after the original, we can create succession planning. So some families actually want their children to help make the decisions after they pass. But even if you don't set up the succession plan, we honor those wishes forever. And so to your quote there, we all will pass away at some time in our lives here. But it is neat that we can capture and help not that second part, that we can help capture and let your legacy live on honestly forever. And it is so neat looking at the history of our funds, and back in the 1960s, reading board motions and reading the original deeds of gift, and seeing these folks, these individuals in our community that set up what they wanted to be honored, and to see that we're still honoring them 53 years later, and we will continue honoring them for another 100 years and beyond.
Did you have any examples you want to maybe run through to give people an idea of, because we keep saying $10,000. The reality is, we have some donors that start very small. They start with less than $10,000. We have some donors that start with millions. Do you have some example scenarios to really make this real in the eyes of the viewer?
Yeah, so we have 140 funds, so there's lots of examples out there. But I have 4 that I came prepped today with, and I'll start with one of the neatest ones that I love history. And so one of the ones was started by one of the original folks that started the foundation, and it was a contribution in total of $10,000. And $10,000 in the 1960s is a good chunk of money. But there was no contributions after that. So that donor gave to other causes and things like that. And that $10,000 has actually, over the last 50 years, has grown now. I just got a fund balance this morning. It is now roughly $60,000 with no additional contributions. And it has paid out to different scholarships and different causes that honors those original wishes. And so it is really neat seeing that we actually have a fund when we're talking about $10,000 that was created with one gift, no additional gifts, and it has grown to be a pretty neat fund. Like a $60,000 fund is pretty neat. And now every year it can grant out $1,000 to $2,000 from that fund every single year sustainably. This last year it granted out $1,500 in honor of that person that set it up. And so again, that person and the family is not involved anymore in it, but we still honor that legacy and that person's name through that fund. And so it's pretty exciting to see that when we talk about $10,000, that neat story.
Yeah.
But there's other examples too. So I'd like to highlight the Gravelbourg Co-Cathedral. They're a new fund that started with us, and they're doing a call out. If you haven't seen, just Google Gravelbourg Co-Cathedral. It looks like an amazing building. I have a goal to go visit it this year with my kids in the summer. But we've seen donations. They've created this legacy fund to support that church forever, that cathedral forever. And just within the community, we've seen substantial donations. Now it's hundreds of thousands of dollars within 1 year. And the donations have come from Alberta and Manitoba and southern Saskatchewan. And so it's neat seeing a lot of people that had connections to Gravelbourg see that they're able to give back and ensure that cathedral, again, is sustainable and the operations are sustained for forever. So a couple other examples then. This is relatively new, and we're looking at focusing more on memorial funds. And so we know when a loved one passes, typically you see a lot of now, in lieu of flowers, please give to X charity. And so we have we have 3 substantial funds now that have been set up in honor of someone. And one of the most interesting one is the Kevin Tell Legacy Fund. So the Kevin Tell Legacy Fund was created last year, and so it actually hasn't granted out yet. We have a 1-year grace period to allow the fund to grow some interest and make sure it earns enough. But it is neat to see how it has captured, honestly, the hearts and minds of the people that Kevin Tell has touched. I was at a U of R Cougars game, plug for the U of R Cougars. It's a fun experience if you haven't been. But it was the men's and women's Cougar game, basketball game. And I didn't realize that my kids and I are sitting up there and on the shirts of all the team members of the U of R Cougars, and on the backs of all the shirts of all the players and coaches, it says Kevin Tell Legacy Fund. And it is so cool. Nobody at that game understood that we are the ones helping manage it behind the scenes and honor and protect that legacy. But they were talking about the impact that he had with the game and the sports and the players. And it is so cool to be able to see that his legacy is not only going to live on in the hearts and minds, but that the funds raised from that fund will go to support sports athletes and things that he was passionate about and just causes that he was passionate about. So it's that one's exciting because I know it's going to do some amazing things, and it's hit some substantial amounts already. And but it honestly is little bits. Most of those donations through memorial funds are $25 donations, $50 donations, $100 donations. And all those donations, we handle the tax receipts and the processing. But all those donations, again, add up to be a substantial sum of money that will help that Kevin Tell legacy live on.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like his memory isn't just in the past. There's actually still new memories being created through the 100%. Memorial Fund, and they will be forever because it's going to be giving back. It's going to be supporting the causes that they care so much about. Some
of them they're hard, like the 3 memorial funds that we have, the stories are they're hard to hear, and you feel for the family, but it's exciting to know that we can help in some way, in some small way, to help that family through that process, and then anyways, just help them have that legacy live on. I think I've said legacy about 100 times in this interview.
Well, I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. So let's keep it going.
So we've talked about some of the smaller funds, but we have an amazing family that, and every family is amazing. I shouldn't say, but we've had a family that had some, anyways, good financial success in their life. And so back in 2002, with an initial donation of $100,000, a real interesting legacy was created through the G. Murray and Edna Forbes Foundation. And so it's called the G. Murray and Edna Forbes Foundation, but it's actually a fund within the South Saskatchewan Community Foundation. And starting out at that $100,000, the family actually donated mineral rights. And so mineral rights for in the South Saskatchewan. And we have managed those mineral rights for the last 12 to 13 years. And so every year the family has contributed and it has grown. The original family members have passed away. It is now the relatives and even the grandkids, like it is the relatives that are still involved in the granting decisions. And it has now, from a $100,000 initial contribution, today it is now over $20 million fund that we hold at the South Saskatchewan Community Foundation that gives back, as an example, last year was able to give back over $1 million to over 50 charities. And the cool thing is that's just from the interest earned. This fund, at the size it's at, plus all the contributions that continue coming in, that fund will continue giving out at around that $700,000 to $1 million every single year forever. And it is so amazing to see the charities that are able to receive that funding. And we're not talking about small amounts. Like lots of the charities receive $10,000 to $50,000, and those are pretty big numbers when you're talking about lots of the work that the charities in Regina and Southern Saskatchewan do. So
absolutely, and I'll maybe use this as a point to plug the competitive grants that come out of some of these funds. So there's a lot of different ways that donors can decide to give back, and the G. Murray and Edna Forbes Foundation Fund is one of the ways they give back is through competitive grants. So at our website, sscf.ca/grants, you can actually see a full list of the competitive grants. The G. Murray and Edna Forbes Foundation Fund is one of them, and it's one that charities across South Saskatchewan, anything Davidson South, if you're serving that area and you're a registered charity, you can go and actually apply for those funds as long as you meet that purpose. So that's another way that we also help honor that, I think, long term.
And that's part of our flexibility. So I should have started with this at the very start. I love to explain our concept as we give you your own personal family foundation or company foundation with zero work. So honestly, folks, especially folks with high net worth individuals or families, they could create their own foundations. But you are going through the CRA process. You are getting charity status. You have to do the annual filings. You need to do auditing. You need to figure out how to actually get the money to the charities you want. You have to figure out the receipting. Like there is so much work behind the scenes that we eliminate all of that. And we do charge for our charitable purposes and to pay our wages. We charge a very small fee. We have a small but mighty team of 8. And so there is a small fee of each fund, but those fees again they're between 1% to 1.5%, and that is made up from the amount of interest that we earn, and we earn way above market rates, and so we're able to pay those administrative fees. But the neat thing is you can have your own family or individual fund with very little work. But and what you mentioned, Victor, is because we are not just a cookie cutter shop, we offer those additional services. So scholarship programs. We have, I believe, about 30 different scholarship programs where we work with the universities and honor the wishes of families that want to start scholarship funds. We do the competitive granting. So we will, honestly, we keep it simple. We will do the call out for applications. We have charities apply. We have a lot of connections with charities, so we have them apply. We go through all of the criteria to make sure it's met, and then we provide one package to the individual or family to choose who they want to give to, and then we handle all the details. They send us an email or complete the form, tell us who they want us to give to, and then we handle all those details behind the scenes. So it honestly is it's a one-stop shop for legacy giving, and it's pretty special that we're able to have this impact and really help donors connect to the causes and charities they care for with none of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And really getting to focus on the important part, which is, in the case of a legacy, or like if it's a memorial, then you get to really focus on the person at hand and not have to worry about all that other. You get a lot of peace of mind not worrying about everything else. And one of the things I learned from his name is Dr. Tom Deans. We talked to him in 2022, and he really noted to me part of the legacy, especially when it comes to someone passing, or in his case, he talked a lot about wills, is that it also for families thinking about, the challenges of when someone passes, is that having a legacy built into and giving built into a will and a plan gives a family a lot of focus at a hard time to understand really what the purpose is that they're supposed to be doing going forward with this person's memory who they love. That's just another small tidbit I wanted to mention.
That is a good point, though. And because we are so large, we are able to have other services that maybe a lot of charities don't deal with regularly. Yeah. So as an example, we handle regular donations of stocks and mutual funds and bonds. And so we've set up a process where there's no fees. Yeah. And the neat thing about stocks and bonds, I'll talk about some other ways of giving. The neat thing about stocks and bonds is the capital gains are waived from the government of Canada. So not only do you not have to pay taxes on the capital gains when you give your stocks or bonds to SSCF, South Saskatchewan Community Foundation, or one of the funds, but then you also get a tax receipt for the full amount of the security when it's on trading day. Yeah. And then it creates that legacy. So it is like you're skipping capital gains, you are getting a tax receipt for the full amount of the donation, and you're starting a legacy that will continue to grow on. It is a multiple win for families. But not only that, we've handled real estate in the past, land, mineral rights, everything under the sun. So even life insurance, we have a number of life insurance policies. Neat thing about life insurance is if you pass your life insurance to SSCF and name whatever charity you want in your will or name a legacy fund, the premiums you pay are actually we can give you a charity tax receipt. So right now, if you have a life insurance policy that names a charity in it right now, you don't get any benefit for paying those premiums right now. And so the neat thing is you are actually able to write off those premiums if you transfer the life insurance. And so anyways, there's lots of options. We talk about, we can help with private company shares and honestly, any way. And we even have sample will clauses that can be taken to a lawyer and things like that. So we want to make the process as easy as possible for however amount of money you have and you want to give to your legacy. And so it is neat that we have this shop or this expertise and this history that we're able to offer these extra services.
Absolutely. All right, I think we're about at the time to wrap it up as well. So I just want to thank you for coming on, talking everything legacy giving with me, and I hope this was beneficial.
Maybe, I don't know if we have time, but I just want to say the process to start is easy. Honestly, it's a contact with us, we have a conversation, and it's as simple as signing a deed of gift, and that is it. We are off and set, and we do all the work. So the process isn't daunting, it isn't complicated. It's honestly through a couple conversations and signing a deed of gift that we will honor forever. So we can make that very simple.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks a lot, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Victor.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about how you can make an impact in your own community, visit the South Saskatchewan Community Foundation online at sscf.ca or find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn.
You just watched, contact us today